Hello everyone, welcome back to just another F1 podcast here on the Apex Motorsport. My name is Richard Smyth and we've just had the Spanish Grand Prix. A better Spanish Grand Prix than we've had in previous years. I think you'll agree with me on that one. Joining me today for this podcast is of course Ryan. Ryan, welcome back to the podcast. And I'm going to throw you under the bus straight away, as I always do, with your 3-word race review.
Dang it. Keep forgetting about this.
It's every week and you still forget about it.
Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting. Right, 3-word race review. We'll go with comeback as one word.
Okay.
We'll go with unexpected as another word.
Okay.
And we'll go with letdown as one word.
Okay.
If I can chance that.
Yeah, we'll let you off with that one, given that you've forgotten it didn't give you any prior knowledge that you were going to do that.
I'll give
again.
context to each of those words later, if I remember them.
Yes. But we're going to start by talking about the race winner, Max Verstappen, who's won yet again this season, completing a hat-trick where he's won in Imola, Miami, and now in Spain. And in fact, this is the second Spanish Grand Prix victory for Verstappen. His first, of course, was his first race for Red Bull back in 2016. Which also included a first lap incident for Lewis Hamilton, who sent him way down the order, and then I think he was out of the race in that time. That was the start of the real battle between him and Rosberg for the title. Although I don't quite think we're going to see the Hamilton-Verstappen title battle this year, it looks to be going elsewhere, but both times Hamilton has crashed in the first lap, Verstappen has gone on to win, but we'll talk a little bit more about Lewis Hamilton a little bit later in the podcast. But Ryan, Max Verstappen, race winner again, 3 in a row. Do you think he's really mounting this title challenge now this season?
Yeah, I think Red Bull's starting to kick it up a notch. They're finally starting to carve back at Ferrari. Obviously, they got a wee bit lucky, which would be context to my middle word, which I can't remember now. I've already forgotten. But yeah, and to sort of post. I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but to pay tribute to my last word, which I've also forgotten what it is, but I remember what they are, but I just don't know the actual words. I feel bad for Checo, because he pretty much could have led that race right to the end, but things went a different way. But fair enough, if they really think that, even though it's only round 6 out of, what is it now, 22, or is it 23 still? I don't know how many races we've got.
22, Rush has been
22,
dropped.
yeah. Round 6 out of 22, and they're already giving team orders. It's not exactly fair, to say the least, but whether it was for the benefit of the team or not, whether Checo's pace overall would have been slower, it's hard to tell, but Max still has the win. He still has it on his name. It's more points. It closes the gap between him and Charles. It also helps boost the constructors again with another 1-2. So Red Bull seem to be bringing the fight back to Ferrari, which is good.
Yeah, obviously Verstappen is seen by pretty much everyone as the number one driver at Red Bull. He's using the number 1 as his race number this year because he's the world champion, and Checo was brought in last season to really sort of boost Red Bull's Constructors' Championship bid, to give a bit of backup on a more reliable basis for Verstappen. And Checo has shown at times he's a very good driver and he can win races, but it is very early in the season for team orders because Perez still has a very strong chance of winning the title this year. It's because we're so early into the season, but Verstappen has always been seen as Red Bull's their next big thing, and he certainly is that because he's already won a championship with them. But when onto these team orders, we've seen it happen a lot with Red Bull in the past, and it's mainly due to Verstappen being that number 1 driver. We had Albon and Gasly's teammates in the past, and even Ricardo left because he didn't really want to be that number 2 driver. He wanted to be number 1, that's why he went elsewhere, and whether that was the best decision for him or not, that's really up for him to decide. But yeah, Red Bull have been known to have these team orders pretty much every season. But Ryan, do you think it's extremely unfair for the team orders to be put in so obviously? Obviously there'll be team orders throughout the season, there always has been in every team, but Red Bull are making it so obvious that could Checo potentially decide at the end of the season, if he's denied a victory in every race where he's leading, I don't actually want to be here anymore?
I don't think he'll leave. his career's sort of been at this point where he's been at the lowest teams, well, one of the lower teams consistently, and now he's at a top team. I think he might stick it out just to keep his seat there. We've seen it for 4 years, 4 or 5. Oh, hold on, I can't count. 4 years, I think. 2017, Valtteri Bottas. Yes, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 5 years. So we had Valtteri for 5 seasons, and he stuck at it, and it was pretty much team orders nearly right away. Obviously, the first season there, it was sort of a bit of a free go. Let's have a bit of battle, see what way it goes. But obviously, the Mercedes was dominant, so. And Lewis Hamilton was pretty much peaking in his career again, so he was just on a roll. There was no stopping him. I don't think many people could actually take him on in that car. So the team orders were there as well. Even if Hamilton was leading comfortably, there were still times where Hamilton would still get the team order to go in front. Well, Bottas would get the team order to let Hamilton pass, but I think early in the season, I don't think it should be a thing. Maybe towards the middle, towards the end even, it'd be more concerning, because then you need to guarantee team points, and if things are going well, you don't want the two drivers crashing into one another, like we've seen with Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen happen plenty of times. The two just get too competitive with one another, and next thing, bang. We also seen it with Hamilton and Rosberg. Hamilton, I can't mind what it was, tried to go up the out on the right hand side, caught the grass, spun, knocked Rosberg out with him. I can't remember what track that was.
That was Spain 2016.
Oh, it was Spain
That's
2016.
Verstappen's first one. Yeah.
Class, yeah. So yeah, team orders, I think it's a bit silly this early on, but you can see why they're doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can see why Red Bull are putting in these team orders, purely for the fact that they know Verstappen is probably their best chance of winning the title, but I think it could be more of a admittance of they know how strong Ferrari are this year, and I think this season is going to come down to who's got the most reliable car rather than who's the fastest driver. I think the battle between Verstappen and Leclerc is the obvious title battle, although we can't really rule out Perez and Sainz in that. But I think to make things easier, let's just look at Verstappen and Leclerc as the key, or the main number one drivers in each team, the clear favourites within the team. Despite Sainz having a very good last season, Leclerc has been seen by Ferrari as their future world champion, like Verstappen is a Red Bull, or is champion now. But Ryan, do you think that potentially this season is going to be down to who's got the most reliable car? Because we've seen Verstappen win every race which he's finished, but when he hasn't finished, he's been out of the points and not gaining anything there, and that's happened a few occasions, and we've seen a few reliability concerns for Ferrari with Leclerc. Do you think that's going to be one of the key reasons which way this title is going to go?
Well, so far, we haven't actually really seen any more problems with the Red Bull car. We did see a problem at the weekend there with the Ferrari power unit. Knocked Zhou out as well as Charles Leclerc. So there might be the opposite. Ferrari had a reliable fast car, whereas Red Bull had an unreliable fast car, and Mercedes had a reliable slow car. So they have made their slow car more faster, but still have reliability. And then we have, well, actually no, I could say the opposite as well, because they had overheating issues. That's also fair to say. But back to Red Bull Ferrari, I think it is going to come down to reliability. If the Ferraris, for some reason, cut out or DNF, to pretty much put it, or even a DNS, did not start. Charles Leclerc, Monaco, every year. Yeah, it's not gonna be great, is it? I think it could. I still think this season's gonna go right down to the wire like we had last season, and I don't know why. I just get that funny feeling. Quote tweet this back whenever it is the end of the season to see whether I was right or not. I'll not remember, but I think it is gonna go right down to the wire between these two. There's gonna be moments where someone's going to come off at the start and the car is going to be absolutely shattered and they'll not be able to do anything with it. So they're out of the race, the other man wins, and it's just going to be back and forth. I think it's going to be more back and forth than Hamilton and Verstappen, because Verstappen led the first half. Hamilton pretty much gained and won most of the second half of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what way it folds by the end, but we're in for a treat.
Yeah, we're definitely in for a very intriguing battle between these two. Both amazing drivers, and they've got two very strong teammates alongside them, which can pick up the pieces if one of them retires for the Constructors' Championship. But Ryan, there was a few comments made by Red Bull's team boss Christian Horner, known for his controversial opinions, especially last season. But he says that teams might have to skip the final 4 races of the season if the budget cap isn't increased. Now, this budget cap was brought in to make it a level playing field across all the teams, and it's worked to an extent. Obviously, the new regulations have definitely helped bring the field closer together. We're seeing the likes of Alfa Romeo now fighting nearly for podium positions, especially with Bottas this season, and Haas right up there in the points as well. But Ryan, do you think that these comments is nearly Red Bull trying to go, we want to spend more money because we can spend more money and we know if we can spend this, we'll definitely win the title? Or do you think it's a genuine concern? Because I believe it was Alpine and Otmar Safnauer said that they're perfectly fine. They budgeted for the season. And do you think with the cost of fuel going up and the cost of living going up, that with these factors, despite these being large organisations, there's still going to be that knock-on effect? Do you think potentially we might not see any cars take the grid come the final 4 races of the season?
No, definitely not. I think even with the cost of fuel going up, most of it's pretty much already been covered by the Formula 1 teams. That's all been factored in for inflation, rises in fuels, variations, stuff, even cost of materials. Like, yes, everything has gone up, and I'm pretty sure everyone's felt that impact. Whether they'll not be able to race, I think, is a stupid thing to say, because you'll still be able to race. You might not just have the car 100%, but you can still take part, as long as it meets the regulations, and it's completely fine. So I do think they'll still be able to race. I don't think this budget cap thing is really going to set teams away from the last race or the last 4 races, as he's saying. But if they learn to budget right, which is the whole point of the budget cap, we could end up just seeing Williams, Alfa Romeo, and I don't know who else, Haas on the grid maybe, because they seem to be the only teams that don't spend a lot of money, and the cap is the biggest for them to reach. So they could actually spend a lot more money and other teams just not take part. Haas win the drivers, the World Drivers and Constructors Championship based off of that. Be quite funny.
That would be. Obviously, you could go along lines of, well, if they can do it, so can the big teams, and it could be just a power play to try and get to spend more money. But it's something we'll keep an eye on throughout the season, and whether or not other team bosses will speak out about it, it'll be interesting to see who does. So we've seen at the end of last season in Abu Dhabi, Sergio Perez putting on one of the best defensive displays we've seen in Formula 1 for quite some time. He was given the nickname the Minister of Defence in Formula 1, but I think that title may have been taken off by George Russell this weekend in Spain. Ryan, just talk to me about George Russell's incredible defensive display, because it was some of the best defensive work I've seen in Formula 1 for quite some time, although it was borderline illegal in some parts where he was moving across the track, very much what Verstappen used to do. So do you think Russell is going to take that title as the new Minister of Defence in Formula 1?
He's not going to take that title, no. You've also got Fernando Alonso, don't forget, helping Ocon win. There's a couple of good guys that are very, very capable of holding up a driver if they really, really, really have to. I would more like to talk about the driver who literally lets everyone go past him without putting up any defence, which would be Mick Schumacher. Like, come on, Mick, do a bit of weaving. Well, move once. You didn't move at all. You just stayed in a straight line. Mick, you were in the points. Where was I? Oh yeah, George Russell. Right. He put up a tweet himself, basically saying good racing, good hard racing, or proper hard racing. I don't know what way he titled it, but basically proper racing is essentially what he was going for. And it shows him and Max going at it. Yes, I watched the race. I'm just referencing this clip. But you can tell George did the same thing over and over and over, but it still worked over and over and over. The only time it didn't work from him is whenever Verstappen learned that he was doing the same thing and had to go to the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side of George, and then eventually he got past, and then he did get past, and George came right back at him and had to wait another lap or so, and then Max had problems with DRS, so couldn't always keep up when on the main straight that he was pretty much gaining all his time. So that's a different issue that also builds under a reliability question earlier. DRS, what's going on with that? But no, I do think Russell put on probably the most entertaining half of that Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously, we had Lewis quietly sneaking up the grid, which nobody really noticed, and then a couple of pit stops and just the general stuff, and with watching Mick drop out of the points again. I'm going to mention this a lot. But no, I think George, you can tell as a driver, he learned a lot at Williams, that if he was somehow close to fighting the points, he knew how to defend to sort of not drop as many places. So he's learned most of his defending moves from when his time was Williams, and now he has a faster car. He's just using the same tactics and just blowing the field away. I think if he was in a faster car, so if he was in the Red Bull, well, actually maybe not, because the Red Bull's a dog of a car to drive, but if that Mercedes was as fast as the Ferrari and the Red Bulls, we could have been in for a real treat this season. I think George could have been sitting there even second in the Drivers' Championship. But no, he's doing well. I'm excited to see how he fares out the rest of the season.
Yeah, George Russell's the only driver to have finished in the top 5 of every race this season, and that's including 2 podiums, one obviously in Spain and in Australia, in a car that's by far third, fourth fastest. He's done really well this season. He's adapted well to the Mercedes and life at Mercedes, and he's comfortably beaten his teammate, who's a 7-time world champion. So it's no mean feat, and it's incredible work for him. I predicted at the start of the season that Russell would be champion. Obviously, I expect the Mercedes to be much better than they are, but I think if you look at that in terms of Russell versus Hamilton, which was, I thought, going to be the title battle, Russell's being the superior driver this season, and whether or not Lewis comes into his own for the second half of the season, which he usually does, Lewis had a pretty decent race. He obviously had that incident in the first lap, and he was telling the team that he wanted to retire the car. It was might as well save the engine. How wrong was he? It's not often he gets things wrong, but he stuck out in track, and he fought his way back through the grid into an incredible finish. Just Ryan, would you think this could be a real turning point for Mercedes? Because there was a lot of optimism coming in with the new upgrades. They had a very good free practice couple sessions, and not a bad race in terms of results for them.
I think the most important thing for them was the fact that they were here during testing. And the fact they were here during testing in their side-podded car, setting times and looking at the data. And now they're in the side-podless car. They had their practice, first, second, third, and qualifying. So they would have been able to compare the data to see, has their upgrades in their side-podless car been more beneficial than the side-podded car that they brought initially to testing. So, in a way, this was more of a data collecting race than it was just, oh wow, we have a fast car now sort of race. But no, it's good to see that they've developed that car, even though it does look kind of stupid whenever you do compare every other car head on from it. As you know, we're used to seeing the side pods, and they're just like, nah, we're gonna switch it up and make it look very difficult on ourselves to try and claw back this victory or our victories and our championships and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be a good sort of playing field now, hopefully, between the top 3, which is obviously Ferrari, Red Bull, and now Mercedes. Arguably, I would say top 3. In 4th, I would actually just say Alfa Romeo, because Valtteri Bottas has been doing an unreal job. Like, I don't think he, apart from maybe one DNF, I think it is, he might have had. Was it? I'm not sure. But apart from that, he's been in the top 8 every time. Minimum.
Yeah.
You know, he's consistently good. And to think that we all thought at Mercedes he was a bad driver because he just never was there. It was all in his head. Valtteri's actually an unreal driver, I think. And I'm actually glad to see him doing well. But back to your point that I have now forgotten because I talk too much. Yikes.
Well, I'll go back to your point about Bottas. His one DNF was actually Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
So he's been in the points every other race inside the top 8. But We're on about Mercedes in general having a very good weekend. Yeah. Do you think, the question I should start, do you think this is going to be a key turning point for them, or do you think that at one point do you think they say, right, we know we're not going to win the title this year, let's switch focus next year?
No, I don't think they can afford to do that. Not even in terms of the cost of materials, but like in terms of there's still so much to play for. It's round 6 of 22. Even if we have this same amount of races, that takes us to 12. There's still nearly another 12 races to go. There's too much to play for to give up now. They're on the way up. They're climbing. They're climbing. Other Mercedes teams still not doing well, which happened at the start of the season. They're still not doing well. So the likes of the McLarens, the Astons, and unfortunately the Williams, they're not doing so great. Williams is probably just aero once again. They've always struggled with that. Aston's just too much money, not enough sense. And then we've got McLaren, which I have no idea what's going on there. I genuinely thought this was going to be one of McLaren's best seasons, but it's turned out to be nearly on par with the McLaren Honda era. At least the reliability's there.
Yeah. But shout out to Lando Norris, though, who was ill during the race and still managed to finish P8. I think that's an incredible drive from him. And also, something that a statement's just come out recently, the crowds at the Spanish Grand Prix were the highest I think they've ever been, but the circuit was not ready to hold that many people. So I think it's something they're going to work on. Hopefully for next year it's going to be much better, because you're paying all this money to go to a Grand Prix. You want an incredible experience. You know, I've been there at Silverstone. It's an incredible experience. And if you're paying several £100 to be standing in 30-degree heat for 3-4 hours to get on the bus, it's not fun and it takes enjoyment out of the sport. And the growth the sport's getting, they're going to lose a lot of that fan base very quickly. So hopefully for next year that will be sorted, and something we won't see repeated at other races as well. But right, let's move on to predictions now. And
yes,
going into the Miami Grand Prix, going into the last race. Yeah, the last race I had a 9-7 lead, and then going into this race, or after this race, after the Miami Grand Prix, going into this race I had a 9-7 lead, and after the race I have a 12-8 lead. So I've gained 2 points on you. Still not a lot between us. One weekend can completely turn it around, like the last time where I got 3 right in the podium, so still plenty to play for this season, Ryan. But I'll start by you asking who's going to be in pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix.
It has to be one person. It has to be. He cannot have this much bad luck. Charles Leclerc.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to go for Verstappen purely to do the opposite. That strategy seems to be working quite well. But yeah, I do think Leclerc will be strong this weekend. I'll go first with a race winner, and I'm going to go Sergio Perez.
You really think they're going to give it to him?
I mean, you can't overtake, right, Monaco, so how's Verstappen going to get past?
Oh, they'll find a way. Swimming pool.
Yeah, just straight line out of the tunnel, just cut the chicane. So who's going to be your race winner, Ryan?
I want to say the same guy, but I don't know why. Surely he can't lose again. It has to be Charles Leclerc. It has to be. He's due his turn to win.
For my podium, I'm going to go Verstappen and Sainz, because I think the inevitable is going to happen with Leclerc. I don't want it to happen, but I think it's at this point it's been joked about too much that it just has to happen. And who are you going to put in your podium alongside Charles Leclerc?
I'm going to go with the other two that should have been there. Well, if Charles had won the race last year, we would have seen a different podium. But I'm going to go with the two finishers who also came on that podium. I'm going to say also Verstappen and Lando Norris.
Okay. That's if Norris is taking part this weekend, if he's well enough. I think Nick de Vries is on standby.
Uh-oh.
If Norris isn't racing, I'll allow you, Ryan, to change that. Although Nick de Vries on the podium would be quite exciting. I must say, in the last race, the safety car prediction, I got spot on. I think he laughed at be 0 safety cars, but I was correct, so I was quite happy with that. Fastest lap, Ryan. I'm going to do my usual and go for Lando Norris until it happens.
Fair enough.
If he does take part, that is. I'm pretty sure he will be.
I'm just going to go with Charles.
Okay.
Pretty basic.
Safety car. Safety car, I'm going to go 3 because it's Monaco, and we've got Latifi that will crash, Schumacher that will crash, and Ocon that will crash.
I'm going to go with 2.
Okay.
I think we're definitely going to get 2.
Okay. And now for our new favourite prediction, the wild card, which we now use a random generator for rather than putting Tsunoda P7 every race. So Ryan, give me a random number between 1 and 100, please.
So as we do it, we click it 3 times. That's the refreshes, and then we get our number 43. Well, there's only one
so
more.
So that's Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hamilton again, second week in a row. I'll go Hamilton P5. Okay. And if this is number 63 or anywhere close, the people are going to start thinking this is definitely right, because we had both Alfa drivers 2 weeks ago, both Mercedes drivers last week. Are we going to get the Mercedes double again, Ryan?
Okay, we click it once, click it twice, click it 3 times, and we get my number 48. 48.
Okay, 47.
Max Schumacher. 47.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
And what position or what Schumacher scenario are you going to choose?
I'd love to see it. Mick in the points.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be delightful.
And it technically counts as a wild card because he hasn't done it yet.
Yes.
If he'd already done it, it doesn't. That's not fair to say that. It would have been like, oh, top 7. Ooh. Mick in the points.
Yeah. I think, Ryan, that's all we have time for in today's podcast. Any final thoughts? You still haven't thought of something, I don't think.
Oh, I thought I did last time. Oh, I don't remember. Oh well.
Yeah.
Zhou. Oh, that was it. Go, Guan Yu. Zhou, go, Zhou. Zhou, go. Zhou did not go last this race. Well, in Spain, Zhou stopped. But this time, Zhou will go. Yeah. I remembered.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you everyone so much for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube or on Spotify or podcast, we really appreciate the support, and we hope you can join us next time for the Monaco Grand Prix. Goodbye.